Hi everyone, Nova here from Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service with this week's live stream Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Question, Answer and Support session. Thank you for joining us here everyone. It's great to have you back, as it always is. Everyone, we're very, very lucky, as we always are, every second week to have David Demars here, who who co-hosts the show every second week live from Las Vegas. David will be joining us here very, very soon. I'm just waiting to see him pop up on my screen, and I shall let David in. And David is just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to narcissistic abuse, and I guess all the residual effects and trauma of such. So yeah, I'll just keep an eye out for David. Everyone, as you join, as you do every week, please just say hi in the comments below, and also say whereabouts in the world you're from. And already we have Matthew Harrison there. Hey Matthew. Matt says, good evening, everyone. So yeah, great to have you here, Matthew, and hopefully we'll have some more guys here tonight. Yeah, we want to break down those barriers with regard to gender bias. Yeah, so let me just have a look. We've got Megan Louise Fisher is there. Hi, Megan. Says, hi, Nova. It was so lovely to meet you today. Absolutely. Same here, Megan. Just absolutely my pleasure. We've got Natasha Masling says, hi. Hey, Natasha. And Natasha's from Sydney. And we've got Kylie Hardgrave is there. Says, hi, Nova from Coralbin Valley. Hey, Kylie. Kaylee Keenan is there from London, England. Oh, awesome to have you here, Kaylee. Must be 9, 10, something like that. I think there's about 10 hours difference between us at the moment. And who else did I see there from England? We've got Elaine Puka Bailey is there from England. Hey, Elaine, thank you for joining us. Sarah James is there, says hi. Sam Sefra, or Kefra, I'm not sure how you say that, Sam, is here joining us from New Zealand. Wonderful to have you here, Sam. Olivia Somersby is here from Brisbane. Awesome. Just in case you guys, maybe you are a little bit new and you don't know where I'm actually from in Australia, I'm from Brisbane, north side of Brisbane. I am a professional counsellor here in Brisbane. My area of expertise is working with victims of narcissistic abuse and survivors. So if that's something you'd like to do, please just inbox me here. No matter where you are in the world, I counsel people via Skype and telephone. And already I can see David, so I'm going to let David in. 2 secs, David, while I add you. Yes. Hey, David.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Good.
Awesome. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Good. Really good.
Good.
Just saying a few hellos here. So I'll just keep going before we get into the topic, David.
Okay.
Good. We've got Sarah Joy has now joined us. Hey, Sarah. Jody Siapo. I know I haven't said that right. I'm sorry, Jody, from the Gold Coast. I've got Maxine Green here from the Gold Coast. I think that's all I can see at the moment. Yeah. Okay, David, let's just get straight into it. Such an interesting topic tonight. Would you like to introduce it?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people want to know the difference between two personality disorders, and that's borderline and narcissistic, BPD and NPD. And people are very confused, and people think that the people that have abused them could be one or the other or both. And so I was hoping that we could help them clarify some misunderstandings and help them understand better and answer some questions that they may have about this subject. Yeah.
Great. Yep. Awesome. So what? Let's get into it. Let's get into the difference, because there's actually some defining similarities between the two. But let's and I think this is what causes the confusion, because there is similarities. Let's get into the specific differences.
Sure. Well, first, I do want to say that they are similar in the fact that out of all 10 personality disorders, these are in the same cluster. So these two are grouped together because they are somewhat similar. There's 3 categories they seem to be grouped in, 3 clusters, and they're categorized by a word. This one being wild. This is kind of the wild personality disorders, if you will. And so, but the differences is what we're talking about today. And I think some of the biggest differences, and what I've got here is the diagnostic criteria that therapists use to diagnose. And I think the biggest things, if I could just point out the biggest that I see here, is narcissism is more egotistical, or borderline is more fear or vulnerability based. That's what I've noticed the most. Yeah, pretty big difference there in that sense. So if I just read down just a few words of each one that I pulled out of the diagnostic criteria for both, I think you'll start to see a difference. And
maybe we can want some examples as we go through.
Absolutely. So if I can just read these off real quick, it'll only take a second.
Sure.
For borderline personality disorder, some of the things that really stand out is for the criteria are a fear of abandonment, emotional instability, unstable sense of self, maybe suicidal or self-mutilating, anger, and dissociation, where narcissistic personality disorder tends to lack empathy, be selfish, entitled, attention-seeking, suspicious of others, arrogant, judgmental, and grandiose. So those are some of the major differences that I wanted to point out. And then I've got some other ones that I wrote down to just kind of help people understand a little better about behaviors.
Yeah. Okay, so from the research that I've done, I guess there's a big fear of abandonment with both NPD and BPD. I guess with borderline personality disorder, they're the ones who, because of their fear of abandonment, will, cling to a person, often to the detriment of the relationship, where they cling so hard and they're so possessive. You can't come home a minute late, or they're just, just so consumed with you, they often will push that person away. Whereas the narcissist has a fear of rejection, abandonment, but they'll be the ones to do the abandoning because of the way they abuse you. They will preempt that you're going to leave because of the abuse, so they abandon you before you can do the same.
Yeah, if you go back to those 2 words, egotistical and vulnerability and fear, the borderline fear of abandonment would be literally by themselves. Fear of being vulnerable, alone. They are so dependent. Where you've got the narcissist doesn't fear it as much like that, but it's more egotistical. It's the ego. You want to leave me? I can't take that. You won't do that to me. I'll get you back, or I'll leave you first. Sure. But the borderline, the person that really fears abandonment is the person that makes it come to fruition. The borderline will abandon first so often, I've noticed. And it's just immediate. It's just immediate cutoff. Boom, gone.
Yeah. I guess, what would you say around if I said that both personality disorders stem from insecurities? Even though one's ego-driven and the other one's, fear of being vulnerable alone, both seem to stem from insecurities.
Absolutely, totally. I mean, you real lack of parenting, from abuse to neglect, and I think people need to understand neglect isn't ignoring children or not giving them food and stuff like this. I'm talking about emotional neglect, or a real lack of responsibility from the parent and teaching children things, being there for the child, reassuring child, offering security, things like this. So a real trauma versus inappropriate parenting. You have a borderline tends to be physically sexually abused, or both. Where you have a narcissist, and it's a real kind of praise and punishment, where it's inappropriately used for the parents to get what they want from the child. So
Yeah.
they will praise something they didn't do, praise something they did bad. They will punish for things they didn't do, punish for things they did good that the parent didn't like. Real psychological damage, and that's where you get into the real gaslighting from narcissists. I think that's how they were raised, that
Yeah.
way. Pretty sad. So yeah, so I think that's one definite difference is the trauma over inappropriate parenting. But both, like you said, both insecure, absolutely, offering
Yeah.
no security. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I guess one major difference would be the borderline personality disordered individuals' reaction to their abuse, because this is the thing, they both abuse. They both are very, very destructive in relationships, aren't they? But the borderline will, go crazy, go off because I don't know, you're 5 minutes late home from work and they perceive the worst. You're having an affair, or you're looking at another person at the gym. So, so you're grooming that person, you're having an affair with that person, and they will just have an absolute meltdown. They will go into a rage. But the borderline will experience after that, when they've had that really impulsive fit of rage, they will experience, I guess, remorse, where they just go, oh my goodness, and I can't believe I did that. And then come back like nothing's happened. It's very similar to the narcissist in that they will come back like nothing's happened, which is really obviously confusing for the victim. But they do have that reaction to their impulsivity, where they do feel, oh no, what have I done?
That's right. Real impulsivity and shame from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the narcissist, as we know, no shame here. You deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, real blame game. It's not my fault, it's your fault, real egotistical, or the borderline may accept blame or fault to keep you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
interesting, the differences. But I guess, as we know, that all of those, you're talking about those personality disorders that fit in that cluster B, of which borderline and narcissism are. Every one of those has narcissistic traits. Every person that fits in that cluster B is, I guess, a narcissist, but it's not necessarily the other way round.
Well, kind of. I mean, try to realize that these personality disorders are underdeveloped people, and in things like empathy is developed, right? Children aren't born with empathy. We develop empathy in our childhood into adulthood, and if we're underdeveloped, we didn't finish developing. We may not finish developing empathy. So their borderlines often lack empathy. They often do, but that doesn't mean the lacking empathy really goes to a narcissist, because they really are the ones that don't care, the ones that just don't care. They might have some remorse, but they don't care what they did to you. They don't feel what they did to you. Where the borderline could have empathy, they could feel, and I think it's more of identifying with your emotion,
Yeah.
right? And then it's a real enmeshment in that, right? We share this emotion together, right? And then if you don't, then they don't identify with you at all if you don't have the same emotion. So
It's
I
that
think
real,
that's real
I
common.
hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you,
Mhm.
which is kind of similar to the push pull with the narcissist. But that I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you by the borderline is just fueled by that, you're going to leave me, you're going to leave me, that real fear of abandonment.
Yeah, and I think as far as like identity, the borderline has the identity disturbance, and you'll see them change their identity or appearance, things like this, opinions all the time. Where a narcissist knows what they identify with. That's very important to them. What they identify with, that's their ego, because They don't have a real defined sense of self, right?
Yeah.
They don't value morals that much or at all. So they don't have a very clear, stable sense of who they are, but they do have a very clear identity. Whereas the borderline identity is often disturbed. I think that's a real clear, defined difference between those two.
Can you talk to us about the splitting that borderlines engage in? The splitting as in like black and white. Yeah.
Yeah, black and white thinking. I think that results in a real life or death situation for people. If you look at anybody that doesn't, if you don't give people what they need, if people can't have what they need, they will go into survival mode. And that's where everything is either good or bad. Our brains do that naturally. If people don't understand that we aren't just our brains is just a part of us, and our brain all cares about is staying alive, right? It's up to us, ourselves, to be happy. So our brains don't care if we're absolutely miserable all day, as long as we stay alive, right?
Yeah.
If you go out into the woods and don't give yourself physical things, if you don't have food and water and shelter and things like this long enough, you won't care about anything else. Nothing. You won't care about emotions. You won't care how people feel. You won't care about anything. It's just everything in the world is good or bad, happy or sad. You're there to kill me or help me. And I think that's where that splitting really gets into. I think the borderline is in such survival mode,
Yeah.
emotionally. Yeah,
Yeah.
emotionally, that everything is either good or bad. They're here to help you or kill me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what fuels that intense emotion and anger that they have, where they have these impulsive, rages and outbursts. But I think, going back to what we were talking before, I guess the defining difference between NPD and BPD would be the fact that the borderline will go crazy and say all these terrible, horrible things because they perceive abandonment, but then they will wake up with, I guess, this hangover shame, where they experience that self-loathing because they did act so terribly, and they will then, I guess, go to the other extreme to make up for it.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, absolutely ruled by their fear of abandonment, ruled by their fears. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. There are many different differences I have here. Yeah, and so we can keep talking about them throughout the video.
One
So much of this looks the same, and everybody thinks that they know somebody that's both, and it's not as common as you think. And doctors really don't like to diagnose clients or patients with both two different personality disorders. They don't care to do that. They'll identify similarities or overlaps and stuff like this, but people tend to be one or the other if they have a personality disorder. If they're narcissists, they tend to be narcissists, not narcissists and borderline. But it looks so similar. These things can look so similar. Borderlines can really lack empathy earlier. Narcissists can be erratic in their emotions and abandon you. I mean, there's just so it can be difficult, and it's always difficult to do this to examine people close to us, because these are negative things, right? And we see that people that we love or we think we love in our lives close to us, we have some good times, we have some happy times. Sometimes they might be sweet or nice, right? So it becomes difficult to see these things in people closest to us, big time.
Yeah. So there are some very defining differences, absolutely. But yeah, there is, I guess, the one major thing that is similar between the two is that both of their behaviours are based on insecurities. Like even a borderline who will be very similar in their behaviour if they perceive criticism. If you say, hey, I don't want to be your friend anymore, they will take that to the nth degree, and they will want to punish you because you wounded them. And they will take everything as a major criticism against you, and will want to punish you for not wanting them.
Right.
Very
Right. I
similar
mean,
to
I think,
BPD.
yeah, I tell everybody that can't make sense of other people's behaviors and they're trying to understand them. Most likely, everybody, whatever they're doing, are trying to meet their emotional needs, right? And people go about it so differently. And there's healthy ways and unhealthy ways. If you look at the most important, emotional security, you'll see that, I can ask my partner to offer me security, to provide it, to tell me they love me, things like this. But if you feel so ashamed of yourself, you may not ask for that. If parents never taught you how to do it, you won't ask for it. You may manipulate, you may triangulate, you may threaten, abandonment. You may do all these things to get that security, and it may not make sense and understand what they're doing. So
Yeah,
usually, typically, that's what they're doing is they're trying to meet their emotional needs. Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I guess because of the, whatever brought on their disorder and the very nature of their disorder means that even if you answer them and say, hey, yes, and you get a healthy person, especially with, a borderline that is trying to meet their needs, they will always be sabotaging that. And they will always be, it will never be enough. And they will, they will be pushing you away with their overbearing need to, know where you are every second of the day and to control you.
Well, these personality disorders can be extremely, people with them can be extremely exploitative. And that's where that line can be clearly drawn. If for somebody that's just borderline or is just suffering from trauma, right, they can be very exploitative to get what they
Yeah.
want, get what they need. Absolutely. And you can see financial exploitation, sexual exploitation, see all kinds of exploitations in relationships.
Absolutely. I was talking to a male client a while ago who said that well, he believed that that his ex was a borderline, but I think we've spoken about this before with an NPD. But she to exploit him, to I guess smear him, get him in trouble, get him in big trouble. She would tell everyone that he had been hitting her and would actually provoke him into hitting her simply to, as you said, to exploit him, to make everyone think that he was, this despicable person who beat up women.
Yeah, and you could have different reasons from each different disorder, right? The narcissists worry about what people think, their ego. I'm not the loser out of this relationship, you are. And then you have the borderline, I can't handle how I feel. I can't handle being the bad person. I can't handle you leaving me. I want you to stick around. I'm going to do what I can to try to keep you in my life or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can look the same. Here it is. It can look the same. A lot of these can look the same. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's just so much overlap there. Okay, David, we might start answering some questions. Yeah,
Good.
it's such an interesting topic. Very, very interesting. Okay, we've got Love Kaisma there. Hello, Love. We've got Donna Kirby there from Tenterfield. Hey, Donna. Okay, we've got a question from Kylie Hardgrave. Kylie says, David, do NPD men tend to gravitate towards BPD women?
Oh, very common. Yeah, they actually can attract each other very well. And it doesn't have to be that gender. It doesn't have to be the narcissistic man and the borderline women. It can be opposite. It could be the narcissistic female and the borderline male. But yeah, they do attract each other, don't they? And I think you've got the narcissist with the ego that needs to be fed, and you've got the borderline that has no problem love bombing that narcissist, right? You've got the narcissist who will give the borderline physical attention, and that borderline will cling on to that physical attention. Hormones will rise and think this is the most amazing experience, most amazing relationship you could ever have. Yeah. And then you've got the borderline that's fear of abandonment, and the narcissist that will exploit ability and threaten to abandon and triangulate. And you have two toxic people that aren't going to leave a toxic relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, like, I guess we know that the NPD in the beginning of the relationship, when they're love bombing, one of their biggest tools, one of their biggest weapons is sex. you know, they will seduce you, and it will be, you know, the most amazing sex you've ever had, because this is a way of obviously hooking you into the relationship, making you feel special. The borderline will be, I guess, the perfect candidate, perfect target there, because the borderline needs to feel like you want them. So for them, sex is also a weapon, because they need it to what am I trying to say? They need to think that you want them all the time, and they think that if I'm having sex all the time with this person, they want me, they want me, they want me. So they're both feeding each other, I guess, in that love bombing stage, where the borderline is being able to, you know, not feel abandoned and feel like this person wants to be with them all the time, and the narcissist feels like they're, you know, love bombing this person and getting them hooked on all those hormones that keeps us addicted to an NPD.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you have is it's all physical too. You're not talking about an emotional connection. You're not talking about making love. You're talking about sex. You're talking about all physical, all hormonal, right?
Yeah.
And so that becomes exciting for the borderline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough for the narcissist. The borderline could have been sexually molested or raped in their childhood. You'll often see borderlines being hyper sexual and have sex with every person they meet. They need to at least have some kind of physical contact or sex with every person they meet, or they will shut sex off and control the relationship with sex. Right?
Yeah, because if I'm having sex with someone as a borderline, that means they want me. They want to be with me. Sex for them is a tool. Also, it's a tool so they feel needed all the time. Someone wants to be with me. Someone wants to touch me, and they use this to, I guess, get their needs met.
Yeah, well, sadly, if you molest children, you often are teaching them they get what they want with their body.
Yeah.
They get the attention, they get the things they need and want with body and their sex and stuff like this. So sadly, that's what children are taught like that, and they will use that sex or their body to get things that they want, often borderlines. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good
Okay. So
question. Yeah, they really do attract each other. It's absolutely common. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. We've got Sammy Larkis is there. Hey, Sammy. Okay, Megan says, is a BPD person toxic to others? Okay, I'm assuming Megan means, you know, toxic to people outside the intimate partnership. David?
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I think doctors, scientists came up with personality disorders. It's a way to help patients that go into their office understand what's wrong with them. These are people that aren't very good at giving themselves what they need, that can't function in relationships, and very often can be exploitative. So toxic in the sense that, yeah, I mean, unhealthy. I can't give myself what I need. I can't give things in a relationship that the relationship needs. So I'm not going to have stable anything. Borderlines, there's nothing stable. There's no stable sense of self. There's no emotional stability. And believe me, relationships are going to be absolutely up and down, on and off, hot and cold all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no emotional regulation there. And I guess like the NPD, it all depends whether they're getting their needs met, and if someone is threatening their sense of feeling needed. If they're feeling threatened, if they're feeling abandonment, then they're going to exploit that person, whether that person is an intimate partner or not.
We need to give ourselves our emotional needs. We need to meet these. You guys that are victims probably haven't been. You may feel unstable, things like this. It makes us more black and white thinking, more impulsive. Yeah. So the borderline is not getting what they need. They're trying to by exploiting their partners, most common. And it doesn't work. It's not enough. It's external. And so it's constant need for attention. Constant help me fix my problems, listen to me, I'm always feeling this and that, and oh my gosh. Yeah, they will. I call the borderline's got a hamster wheel,
and they just want you to get on that thing and just start going and never stop. And here's all my problems for you to fix. And when they're done, I'll give you some more.
Yeah.
Just keep going, keep going.
And that would, I guess, describe another difference between the two disorders in that in a relationship, as you said, with the BPD, you just, that they want your attention 24/7, and you feel exhausted all the time because you just can't provide them with enough attention. Whereas the partner of the NPD gets the silent treatment, gets devalued and shoved to the side, and they're actually craving attention from that person themselves as the victim. So in that instance, they are quite different.
Yeah, and neither of them know how to meet their own emotional needs, and they exploit other people and are dependent on other people for things they need. Absolutely, but just different reasons. You got the narcissist for the ego and the borderline fear of abandonment. Don't leave me.
Yeah.
And can both look the same. Yeah, and how they do it.
Okay, we've got Marley Rose is there. Hi, Marley. And we've got Ranzi Panzi is there. Hi, Ranzi. And we've got Evelyn O'Lean. I know I haven't said that right, Evelyn. Let me give your question a go. Hi, Nova, David from Tasmania. Wow, all the major differences of NPD that David had read out are all that the ex displayed and acted out, including suicidal. Yeah, so obviously you've got some validation there, Evelyn, from what David said. That this is what you've experienced.
Yeah, I hope that helps you understand. Understand your abuser will help you understand the abuse and help you realize that it's not your fault. Eliminate shame and guilt.
Okay, who have we else? We've got Jenny Wright is there. Hey, Jenny. Jenny says, oh my God, it's killing me. No apologies, only blame. Yeah, that's from an NPD, absolutely, Jenny. And if you do get an apology, it's certainly insincere. Narcissists will blame shift. Everything is your fault. To admit fault to anything is to have a weakness. And of course, the whole idea of the false self is to negate any kind of weakness.
Yeah, if I don't know who I am, if I don't have a clear, defined, stable sense of self, I'm going to be all ego. I do no wrong.
Yeah,
I'm perfect.
Exactly. We got Marlene Teague is there. Hi, Marlene. Marlene says, I'm watching the damage that narcissist parents are doing to my niece, and it's heartbreaking. My sister and brother-in-law. I'm watching the damage narcissist parents are doing to my niece. Oh, my goodness. Marlene, I guess one thing with watching other people being abused by a narcissist is that when that given preventative measures can only be used, I guess, in the form of if your niece is very young and there's child protection issues at hand. But if she's older and she's being gaslighted and projected onto by narcissistic parents, it's very difficult to intervene, because mainly, as David and I say all the time, when you try and convince someone who's being abused by a narcissist to leave, you're always up against it because they're very unlikely to believe you. David?
Yeah, these relationships, there's an absolute addictive element to this.
Yeah.
And the reason that we don't split toxic relationships up in people and partners, the reason it stays like that so long is it's addiction. And just like any other addiction, it becomes number one. I've seen people always put their abuser before their children. I see that so much. I see it, I'm going to stay together for the children. That kind of attitude. Say, no, you're staying together with your abuser because you're addicted to them, because you're afraid of leaving them.
Yeah.
Not for everyone, but it's common. Yeah. It's an addiction. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it is heartbreaking having to sit back and watch, Marlene, but there is very little you can do because, as David said, this is an addiction. And as many of you will know, when you're in the midst of this, you don't even know that you can't even pinpoint the abuse. You can't articulate it. How do you articulate gaslighting if you've never heard of, NPD? And you have to have that light bulb moment and want to know about it. People who are in the relationship with a narcissist, unless they've had that moment, you're only going to be coming across exactly as the narcissist has filled them in, and they are going to be smearing you. So most likely you're not going to be believed. So yeah, it is heartbreaking, but there's not much you can do.
Yeah, it's an awful thing to see anybody get hurt, be abused, things like this. But
Yeah,
that's why we can't see it. Don't watch it. If there's nothing you can do, don't watch it.
Yeah, we get asked all the time, don't we, David, about, I'm seeing them target someone else. They're grooming someone else. I want to warn them. I want to protect them. And we always say, don't, because they won't believe you.
Yeah, no, and it's not your job.
Yeah, job is to look after yourself.
That led me to just say something you guys might find interesting. This is something that I've noticed, and I could be wrong. I haven't heard this anywhere else, but I've noticed narcissistic parents can tend to raise borderline children. And I've noticed borderline parents can also raise narcissistic children, that kind of vice versa. And that doesn't mean always, not at all. There are plenty of narcissistic parents, the children aren't disordered, but it's common. I noticed people with borderline personality disorder have very narcissistic parents, and I've noticed people with narcissistic personality disorder tend to have a lot of borderline parents. I find that interesting. Just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, because you've got narcissistic parents that may physically or sexually abuse their children. And I mean, I think anybody that sexually abuses children is just extremely narcissistic, extremely. And that's so common with borderline children, been raped, molested, or physically beaten. And I that's just something I've noticed. Anything like that?
Yeah, well, it makes, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What difference is really, if you think about it, is there between the parent, the narcissistic parent, and the borderline child, and vice versa, and the fact that narcissists and borderlines are attracted in an intimate relationship. It's like this, this dance that they do together, where they entwine, because the narcissistic parent will be essentially neglecting, abandoning the child. So the child is going to fear abandonment. What happens there? Possibly creates a borderline child who fears abandonment and attaches, overly attaches. Vice versa, you've got a borderline parent who's enmeshed in their child and, put them in cotton wool. And then, that child is like, get away from me, and develops this persona so that they become, this superior, grandiose being that, doesn't need to be mollycoddled.
Inappropriate praise, love bombing the child, not holding the child responsible for things that's done wrong, accountable, things like this. So
no
boundaries,
no rules. Yeah,
yeah.
It kind of makes perfect sense.
Yeah, total fear of abandonment that the parent has. So I'm not going to make my child very responsible. Just don't leave me. No, you didn't do anything wrong. Who cares what anybody else said? And it's just totally inappropriate. And that's something I've seen, that cycle, very, very common.
Yeah. And these children, while this is going on, their little brains are forming, and their emotional intelligence is forming. So their attachment style is being, I guess, dictated to them by the parenting style that they are receiving. So yeah, narcissistic parent raising a borderline child to grow up and attach like an octopus or something onto their target, because now they've got a bit of power. They're an adult. They haven't got that vulnerability, that, I guess, that core vulnerability that as a child. And they've also got the resilience they developed because of the abuse. So they're a lot stronger now, but they're also, their brains have been conditioned and were molded while they were being parented by that parent with that disorder.
Yeah, you've got the narcissist growing up that needs that constant ego fed. Tell me how great I am all the time. And borderlines are willing to do that, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Lee Michelle is there. Hey, Lee. Lee says, hey, guys, I'm a bit late tonight. I'm sorry. Totally okay, Lee. Just glad you're here. Awesome to have you back. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting one, David. Marlene says, can you do an intervention on a narcissist? You could, whether it would be successful or not. Yeah.
No good. There's no point. No point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you that rage a narcissist has is their ego being attacked, isn't it? They won't have it. They won't have it. So to cure somebody, to see what they're doing wrong, to show somebody, hey, look what you're doing wrong. They've got to swallow their pride. They've got to part ways their ego and say, screw it. Okay. Thanks for pointing it out, but a narcissist, they just can't do that. And that's why you don't see either of these people get much help. But a narcissist just isn't going to bite that bullet with their ego. They just can't.
Yeah. I don't know if you've watched any, David, but I've watched a few intervention shows, all kinds of addiction, drugs, alcohol, sex, things like that, gambling. And when they sit them down for the intervention, that's exactly what happens. The person, most of the time, they'll be angry. They'll be angry because they are being faced with something that's so shameful to them.
And their addiction, priority number one is being threatened. Yes. And that's the problem with the interventions typically. The narcissist intervention might go differently than an addiction intervention like that. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. That's the point I was getting to was these people not being narcissists, you've got, I guess, the capacity there to somehow implement change where, get a narcissist into an intervention, say, hey, we're going to intervene and because you're a narcissist and, we're going to help you to have empathy and remorse. The narcissist would throw up the table and storm out because he was dealing with or she was dealing with a bunch of morons who don't know what they're talking about.
And I think it's much easier to say, if you're so ego driven, right? I can say, well, yeah, my problem is my drug or the drugs or my addiction. But now you're saying my problem is me. I'm wrong. Yeah, you can't take it.
What a threat to the very thing that keeps them alive, which is their ego. You're telling them that you've got a problem that's not external. So I guess all the other addictions, yes, they come from an internal place, but we're talking about external, substances and things like that. Whereas with a narcissist, we're talking about your personality.
Yeah, and you could, same with borderline. Typically these people can't do things for themselves. They're not so good at self-soothing, right? Or may not have a very good, clear, defined sense of who they are as self. So I'm not going to tell myself, hey, at least I'm a good person. Hey, I'll be okay. I'm always okay. I'm great. They don't feel that way about themselves. So they need people to do that for them.
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay. Yeah, very good question. Okay, we've got Elizabeth, Margaret Lepore is there. Hey, Elizabeth. We've got Emma Lane here from Dubai. Awesome to have you here, Emma. We've got Mort Dyke is here. Hi, Mort. Mort says, Can a narcissist want to get you a criminal record just because you call them a failure? Absolutely, Maud. There is nothing they won't do to punish you. You've got to remember that a narcissist can stoop to amazing lows to if you have threatened their ego. So to call them a failure, that's you've wounded them. You have absolutely given them a major narcissistic injury. If they want to punish you with that, if that's accessible to them, then that's what they will do. Yeah, absolutely, yes. And they will do worse.
Yeah, just like I was saying, they can't self-soothe. They can't tell themselves, "I'll be okay. I'm a good guy. I'm a good person, anyways." So that's why they're so competitive. This is survival mode again. Here we are in survival. Everything's good or bad. I'm good or bad. They don't have a clear sense of who they are, so it's got to be ego. Ego means I am your opinion of me. That's who I am. Whatever you say I am is who I am. And if you're going to leave that up to everyone else, who you are, then boy, does it matter who's a failure, doesn't it? I can't be a failure ever. I can't make a mistake ever. I can't be wrong. I won't apologize. It's your fault. I'm better than you. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I guess we're talking about borderlines as well tonight, David. The borderlines can do it exactly the same thing if they perceive or are abandonment. That the links that they will go to, I've heard of people being murdered because they were going to by a borderline because they perceived abandonment from this.
Perceived. That's the important word, is perceived, where it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And you date a borderline, they'll abandon you, and you'll just be like, "We just had the greatest day of our relationship," and you're like, "That's why they abandoned you. So good, it's gonna end. You're gonna leave them." Bam. Just perceived fear, perceived threat, where it doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah. But that the punishment can be even for a perceived threat of abandonment, the punishment can be just ferocious. I've heard of, women, I know that men probably would do it too, but women, crying, rape and banging their whatever their heads on, to give themselves an injury so that they can get that partner into trouble with the law, to say that that they hurt them. And this is because they perceive abandonment and they will do anything and everything to punish you.
Absolutely. And here again, just things keep looking the same, but they're different. Like the smear campaign, right? Smearing people and talking bad about people after the relationship. You've got the borderline that can't handle, like you said, the threat, the fear, things like this. And then you've got the narcissist. I just care about what I look like. They're the bad one. I'm not it. I'm not the failure. They are. Yeah.
Yeah.
But both are smearing. Both are saying the same thing, behaving the same way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got Jessica Byrne is there. Hi, Jessica. And we've got Matthew Harrison is there. Hey, Matt. Matthew says reactive abuse helps with their smear campaign. Yeah, absolutely. Reactive abuse, for those of you who don't know, is when we, as victims, we're provoked. As you know, you're all provoked. You're just prodded and prodded and prodded. And then what you do is you give a normal reaction to an abnormal abuse, which is you explode. You might swear and scream, or you might throw something, or do something that's just so out of a character, and you give it that I guess reaction is what they wanted. They wanted you to explode. So that's why it's called reactive abuse. It's something that you would feel shame about and feel embarrassed about. So abuse is not really a good word, even though I guess it's not, certainly not ideal, and it's not good behavior, but it is a reaction, a normal reaction to ongoing abuse. And this does help the narcissist with their smear campaign, because then the narcissist, while they're smearing you, can go, remember when they were just acting crazy? they're always like that. This is what I've got to deal with, you know, and it just feeds, that reactive abuse feeds the smear campaign.
Yeah, this is a result of being committed to somebody who holds different moralistic values than you do. So narcissist doesn't believe that abuse is wrong, but we do. Abuse is wrong. So instead of leaving someone that abuses us, we stay, and that feels bad. We're allowing abuse, and then we abuse back. That feels even worse, and we lose a very clear sense of who we are. We compromise ourselves and our morals and things like this, where the narcissist doesn't have any. Doesn't matter. You know, so yeah, well, I abuse you. No, I'm going to wait till finally you abuse me back. And then look, you abuse me, you're bad. Yeah. And they don't care. They don't really care. They know that everybody else cares.
Yeah. You just, sorry, you just demonstrate that so well. But yeah, that's the way it is, isn't it? It's just, just that's what they do. They get you to react to their abuse, so that they can tell everyone you're crazy, and they can slide out of the relationship untarnished, with you taking all the blame.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. I don't care that you know, abuse isn't wrong, so I don't feel that, you know, bad that I abused you, you know, and I don't have empathy, so it doesn't hurt me, you know. But you just abused me, so I get to show everyone you're the bad guy, and we are the ones that goes against our morals. Abused us, so we just abuse somebody. It's wrong still. It's bad, and it buries us. They have a hold over us. Totally. Yeah.
It's a double whammy, isn't it? Because the abuser's going, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, and then we actually feel bad because we did this. Yes, we compromised our values, our morals. So then we're like, they're right. I'm a bad person. This person is right.
Mm-hmm. And your self-worth goes, and now I'll stay in this relationship. I'll let people hurt me. I deserve it.
Yeah. Goodness. Okay. We've got Deborah Betts is there. Hey, Deborah, thanks for joining us. We've got Rhonda Hawksville is there. Rhonda says, oh my God, you have just described me with borderline with Narc X. So confusing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not glad that you had to experience that, Rhonda, but I'm glad that you know you've had your experiences validated, and you know that that it wasn't you. You're not going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the borderline, that term, regardless of what some people argue, I know this for a fact, borderline is literally talking about the line in between neurosis and psychosis. It's the borderline. Literally, people with borderline personality disorder are high in neurosis, psychosis, and come back. And you'll see that in their rages, in their angers and stuff like this. They might even dissociate and fade out because of this. They might even cut themselves to bring their nervous system back online after they slipped into psychosis. So all kinds of things that you'll see a borderline. And then the narcissist will gaslight you and lie to you convincingly and make you feel crazy and insane. Besides the fact that trauma and stress will change hormonal balances to make you feel crazy, even minerals in your body and things like this to make you feel crazy. We can't take this stuff. So you could be with a borderline or narcissist and feel crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, Rhonda says, David, I can't believe how correct you are. Yeah. So obviously you've had your experiences validated there, Rhonda, and yeah, I can only imagine what you went through in that situation. Okay. We've got Lee Sorensen now, and Lee asked the same as, we've got Elaine Puka and Bailey. Both people, David, ask, where do empaths fit in? So I'm assuming they're asking, where do empaths fit in with, you know, the borderline and the narcissist?
Well, I mean, you're asking my personal opinion, and we call empaths people that are maybe highly more sensitive with empathy and other people's emotions. And I think that my personal opinion is starts in childhood, starts as when we're babies, literally, and the attention of our parents isn't focused on our emotions. It's focused on the parents' own voids, stuff that the parents are missing. And if the attention from the parents is focused on their own voids, then the focus of the attention of the child is also on the parent's void. And
Yeah.
we are raised not paying attention to our own emotions, but others' emotions. And like I said, if you're trying to wonder what people are doing ever, most of the time people are trying to meet their own emotional needs. And here we are with the people pleaser syndrome, stuff like this, right? Where I'm going to focus on other people's feelings. I'm going to make other people happy so that I can get what I need eventually, right? I'm going to be the host. I call the empath the perfect host of the
Yeah.
party, right? I'm going to have everybody come over. I'm going to make sure everybody has food and drink and feels okay and the air is okay and the music's just right, right? What about me? What about me? At the end of the party, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm right. But I know how everybody feels and it gets exhausting. I read how
Yeah.
everyone feels to see what they need and I give them what they need. And at the end of the night, I might not have what I need. And I see that as the empath. And I see that as any parent with voids. And if we're raised with borderline narcissistic parents, then we could be very, very, very in tune with other people's emotions. And it can cause major problems. I know that I grew up so focused on other people's emotions, and they would tire me out, and I would feel how people felt. And um, I think it's common, and people that identify with empaths, if you have this feeling that this sense of I feel sorry for people quite a bit, and I need to help people a lot, I think that comes from our own pain inside that we need to heal. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. And I would imagine that both the borderline and the NPD would both attract empaths, because you look at a borderline personality disordered individual, you're going to have someone who needs, who needs someone to love them all the time, someone to touch them all the time, and needs to be enmeshed with someone. And then you've got the empath who needs to give and needs to help and needs to fix and has so much compassion, and is all about, being there for someone else. So they would be a great target for a borderline, as we know they are for the NPD, who needs to have someone to meet their ego needs all the time.
Absolutely. It's common if you ask a person who identifies as being highly empathic when they're a child, they will know what mood their parents are in that fast. The second they walk in the door, they'll know, without even seeing them, they'll hear them and know what mood they're in immediately and how to react and how to respond. And I think that's what the empath is, right? We just too much reaction and too much response to other people.
Yeah. And that's exhausting. That can be so draining and exhausting, having to monitor their surroundings all the time. But they get, I guess, conditioned to do this, and they get, I guess, used because they are empathic. They get used to, meet the needs of everyone else
Yeah, I think
because of
it's
their
learned.
brain.
Yeah, I think it's learned survival. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. We've got Shelley Dooney RN. Is there? Hey, Shelley. We've got Michelle Renee Snyder says, good evening, Nova and David from South Australia. Hey, Michelle.
Hello.
Okay, Mort Dyke asks an interesting question. Mort says, what's the difference between having personality traits and having a personality disorder? Docs reckon I have personality traits. Does this mean I'm an abuser? No, not necessarily. Traits is is who you are. Your traits are, you might be, a really funny person. You might have a very sensitive nature to, I don't know, sad movies or something. Your traits are your characteristics that define you. Okay, so they can be good or bad. They are just I guess those characteristics that define who you are. Your personality traits. They're those quirks and those little idiosyncrasies that make up who you are. A disorder, by the very nature of the word, implies that that there's something wrong, that there's a disorder there compared to what is acceptable by society. Okay, so you can, I guess, someone with a personality disorder is only disordered in comparison to what we consider to be the norm, and which is obviously people who are compassionate, and we consider all these traits to be humane. That humanity. If you're a human, you need to be able to survive in the society. You need to have empathy and remorse. That's what we consider normal to be part of the human race. So by comparison, the disorder is defined because they are different. So they're disordered in comparison to what we consider to be normal. So disorder means something that's abnormal. So it's not a mental health issue. When you're just describing more personality traits, you're describing your characteristics, good or bad. When you're describing a disorder, you're describing something that is abnormal and, I guess, destructive. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, something that always helps me is just realize that whether it's narcissism, borderline, things like this is all spectrums that we are all on somewhere,
Yeah.
all of us. I don't care if you're down here at 1 or all the way up here. And so doctors take, right about here is what you need to be disordered. And there is a huge difference between someone who has narcissistic personality disorder and someone who is just narcissistic. Huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can, we I guess we get asked this question a lot, don't we, David? My partner or whoever, they're just so selfish. All they do is think about themselves. Are they a narcissist? Well, number one, we don't diagnose. But number two, you can be a selfish son of a you-know-what and not necessarily a narcissist. Yeah, you can be really low on the spectrum, I guess. The defining character, that person you're referring to, who might be a so-and-so a lot of the time, they still might have the ability to have remorse and empathy. They're the two defining things, I think, that you really, really got to look at. You can have someone who's selfish a lot of the time that can just go, oh, wow, that was really bad. I was a real you-know-what to that person, and experience remorse and empathy and want to change their behavior. A narcissist will never want to change their behavior because they don't think they've done anything wrong.
Yeah, they can't cross that line. Giving up, swallowing my pride, giving up my ego. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've known people that clearly lack empathy. They'll tell you, I don't have empathy for other people. They are not narcissists. I guarantee you. I know people like that. They aren't narcissists at all. They aren't grandiose. They don't think they're better than anybody else. They aren't totally entitled. They aren't, all these other things. It's a spectrum. They get 5 out of 9 to be a narcissist. Yeah, not 4, not 3, not 2. Huge difference. Huge difference. Yeah.
Okay, Lee Michelle's there. Lee says, Nova and David, it's like both of you who have been watching my life for the past 8 years with the descriptions tonight. Thank you for letting me know I was not crazy and it wasn't my fault, and I'm allowed to feel how I'm feeling right now. A pleasure, Lee. Yeah, definitely was not your fault.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your experiences, but your feelings are not wrong. Feel what you feel. Yeah, make sense of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got Mari or Marie Francis says hi from the UK. Hi, Mari. We've got Rachel Mullally there. Hey, Rachel. Rachel says, so I am confused. Can an empath have some traits of a BPD or even be both? It's possible, Rachel. Absolutely. A borderline also, as David was just saying, runs on this disorder is on a spectrum. So if someone's very low on, borderline traits, we all know that, borderline people do experience some remorse for their, for their outbursts, for the rages they fly into, for their, when they attack you, out of nowhere. So, can that borderline have empathic traits as well, where they have compassion? Absolutely. I guess it would just depend, I guess, David, where they fit on that spectrum.
That's right. Yeah. Humans, there's nobody that's the same. I want to make that clear, right? We're all different, equal, but all different. So different. Our brains are all different. We all react different to things, trauma, stuff like this. So again, this is a spectrum. You take narcissistic personality disorder, and narcissism, I guess, is a spectrum. We're all on it. We're all a little narcissistic to a lot narcissistic. Nobody's not on that spectrum. So when I read narcissistic traits, I see people every once in a while, I go, oh, that's me a little bit. Oh, am I a narcissist? Like, no, you need 5 out of 9. 5 out of 9. You can have 1 or 2. The difference between 2, 3, 1 traits to 8, 7, 9 is just amazing. It's amazing. You got to have it all together, and that's what the disorder is. Yeah. We're all a little narcissistic. Narcissism isn't even all bad, to be honest.
No, we need to have narcissism, a little bit of narcissism, like this healthy narcissism. I want to get up, I want to be competitive. I want to achieve. I want to do better, than that person. I want to, improve myself every day. I want to get up and have a shower, put some makeup on, and look good. If I'm a girl.
Yeah, I think like monks believe ego is bad, but I think there is a healthy ego. Yeah. Right? I think that competition keeps us alive, keeps us thriving, evolving, stuff like this.
Yeah. So there's your healthy narcissism, which is there's nothing wrong with. But that's where the spectrum is. And the further along you get on that spectrum, the more I guess destructive your personality becomes. It then becomes a disorder.
The more selfish, the more grandiose, the less I care about how you feel. See, it just goes up more and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And borderline, I mean, look at impulsivity. Impulsivity is a spectrum. The more emotions, the more unstable emotionally I am, the more impulsive I am. And we're all on that somewhere. Somewhere we all have impulsive thoughts. Everybody has crazy, weird thoughts, huh? And everybody says, no, I don't. Yeah, you do. You have weird, crazy thoughts sometimes. I know you do. Everybody does. And right, so we're on that somewhere. Somebody has impulsive thoughts. We could tell people our impulsive thoughts. That makes us a little more impulsive. We could declare, I'm going to go do this. That makes us a little more impulsive. And then I could go do it and be very more impulsive. And that's a spectrum we're all on.
Yeah. And that's where especially the borderline will act very, very quickly, where they will be extremely impulsive. And, if they perceive abandonment, rejection, you've somehow, threatened me, and I feel like you're going to leave me because, I don't know, you're 5 minutes late, you're looking at someone else, in the restaurant, and I feel, very, very vulnerable. I'm going to have a very impulsive moment and destroy you.
And this is impulsivity. It's a spectrum. Your whole life is a spectrum of impulsivity. You have good times and bad times, and you have highs and you have lows, and good moments and bad moments, and stable moments and unstable moments in your life.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Rebecca Coppers there. Hey, Rebecca. We've got Jerry McLeod is there. Hey, Jerry. Tracy Williams is there. Hey, Track Williams is there. Hello. We've got Cassandra there. Hey, Cass. Cass says, am I correct in thinking empaths for loss of the correct? Oh, just had a weird flash of the screen. I thought I'd lost the live stream there. Oh, it's doing it again. That's weird. Okay, hopefully we'll get through this. Sandra, am I correct in thinking empaths, for loss of the correct term, and narcissists are a product of the same traumatic upbringing? So my question is, what makes one, this is a great question, what makes one become a narcissist and another an empath? That is a really, really great question. David, did you want to address that?
Yeah, we can't just clearly define exactly what makes somebody a narcissist. It's titled under inappropriate parenting, and it can be all kinds of different things. You can have twins that grow up in the same house, and one's a narcissist, one's not. People don't understand that. So I can't tell you, well, because this twin had this happen to them. No, we react differently. So they could both have the same treatment. This person reacted this way, this person didn't. So it's very difficult to do stuff like that. What made someone empathic could make somebody narcissistic.
Yeah.
It's too difficult to do that. I think what's important to realize is spectrum, right? So if I'm raised by parents that like just have that void and don't exploit me, that meet my needs somewhat, not as bad, maybe I'll just be empathic. Whereas if I have parents that have a void and also spank me because I didn't do something they like, not necessarily something that was bad, right? So maybe I went next door and I told my neighbors that we didn't have any food at home today. That's why I'm hungry. When you ask me if I wanted something to eat, yes, sure, and I'll eat, and I'm really hungry. And you'll say, why are you so hungry? And I say, oh, we don't have any food next door. Because my parents just didn't go shopping. My narcissistic parents can't handle that, so they beat me when I get home. When we didn't have food, what did I do wrong? Right? Oh, you hurt my ego. You told our neighbors that we're broke and poor and we don't have food. No, I didn't. I just said we didn't have it. Do you see this? It's inappropriate. Why am I getting beat because we didn't have food? Right?
Yeah.
And then if I lied and I said, oh yeah, mom and dad always have food, but we don't, and then I might get praised for lying. You see that?
Yeah. It's reinforcing. Yeah, it's what
that's not going to make me an empath, right? That's not going to make me highly empathic. I might have a personality disorder.
Yeah, yeah. So, look, research indicates that both are the result of trauma, but people, how they react to that trauma, as David said, you can be twins and react totally different, I guess, in the way you absorb it. An example, David, I think we've mentioned this before, would be the two brothers who are, or sisters, whoever, who are raised by an alcoholic father, let's just say, or mother, let's just say an alcoholic father. Now, one of the brothers grows up and becomes an alcoholic himself. Why? Because this was role modeled to him. He witnessed the most important role model in his life, engaging in this behavior every day. So this is what was reinforced in him while his little brain was forming, and he went on to do the same thing. Now, the other brother grew up and never ever touched a drink, and you ask, he was asked, why did you never ever drink alcohol? And he said, because I saw my father was an alcoholic and he used to beat my mother up every day. So here you've got two brothers who've grown up, both traumatized by what they experienced with with a father with a very, very bad addiction to alcohol, but they reacted to it, they handled it, they managed it. Their trauma resulted in different outcomes, but same experiences.
And
So I get,
different extremes. That's pretty, yeah, different extremes, right? One person
yeah,
that doesn't drink may not even like people that drink. I don't like you. You drink, judgmental, right? So yeah, yeah,
both
and
were
I
the
think it's
result, both were the result of having an alcoholic father, but they reacted to their trauma in different ways.
and we also make our own choices, right? We are not just what happened to us. We are also a product of our choices. The architecture built in our brain is due to the choices we make.
Yeah.
So at some point in our adolescence, we begin making our own choices, right? I don't want to hurt somebody. I want to tell the truth. Things like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
So
start, we start
I
developing
hope
what's
that,
important to us.
yeah. So I hope that's helped, Cassandra. But yeah, what a great question. Because yeah, you could have, and oh, we see it every day. We see, people who come to see us, David and I, without the lovely clients who come to see us, where they will be, the child, the adult. We call them ACONs, adult children of narcissists, where they've got a narcissistic brother or sister too, and here they are, highly, highly empathic, but with surrounded by narcissists, same surroundings, pretty much, but yeah, different outcomes.
And being empathic doesn't mean you're emotionally intelligent either. I want to make that clear. And I've also seen a ton of people, and I've seen narcissists and borderlines that like to call themselves empathic. I'm an empath, right? Very, very, very common. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, we might just answer a couple more before we wrap it up. Guys, as I say every week, we can never get around to answering everyone's. So just a great excuse to come back next week. So apologies for those of you who we didn't get around to answering your question, but please still talk to each other and support each other. You can still chat even when the live stream is finished. We've got Celine. Guy is there. Hey, Celine. We've got Charlene M. Ciani Do Meany. Hi, Charlene. Says good morning from Colorado. Hey, Charlene, thank you for joining us. We've got Nacy says hi, Nova and David. We've got Kat Brown is there. Hey, Kat. Okay. Nacy says hi, Nova. Hi, David. The narc wants to take the kids on my weekend. If I say no, would that be any issue, or I need to maintain my boundaries? Yeah, very hard to answer that question, Nate, without more context. Did you want to tackle that, I guess, just generally, David?
Well, let me tell you that narcissists, there's one word they don't like very well.
No.
Be careful telling them no, but you've got to always stand up for yourself and have very clear and defined boundaries. So we don't determine what we're going to do, how we're going to feel, what we're going to think by other people's reactions, right? So I hope that you find the strength to do what you need to do for you and not be too worried and scared about another person's reaction.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, and I think depending what's happened, this is why, there's not much context there, Nay. It could be a matter of you maintaining your boundaries and it also being an issue. If, as Dave said, if you say no to any narcissist, there's going to be, they're going to be angry because you're not allowed to have boundaries. Yeah, I would just be mindful that you do need to have boundaries, but yeah, I don't know whether there's orders in place or not. So they're the things that you need to have in the back of your mind when you say no.
Yeah, it's really important, parents out there, when you're trying to co-parent, parallel parent with a disordered, toxic abuser, and that's it's nice. The idea of being mature for the children's sake is great. But if it's not happening, we need to realize the difference. We need to realize that it's not happening.
and we're holding on to hope, and we're wishing, and just all for the kids. But here we are, week after week, month after month, year after year, and it's not getting any better, and we're still communicating. He or she is still abusing me, and it's around the children. So the best communication tends to be through lawyers, emails.
You can't co-parent with a brick wall, can you? And this is what you're trying to do. You're coming from two different frames of reference. You're projecting your good qualities, which is, I want to do the right thing by my children. You know, I want to make sure that their needs are met and that they are number one. Their needs are paramount. So you're projecting that. If you're trying to have a discussion with your narcissist, you're projecting that onto him or her, thinking that they're going to be the same. They're just like a narcissist projects their terrible qualities onto us. The narcissist's objective is to get narcissistic supply, whether that's from you or the children. There is no I need to meet the needs of my children because I want to provide them with unconditional love, and they deserve this because they are my pride and joy. There's nothing like that going on. This is about getting their needs met.
That's
so
right.
You come from two different places, so you can't co-parent with a brick wall. You can't co-parent with a narcissist.
Yeah, you're trying to co-parent children with another child. They're children, narcissistic children.
Yeah, a toddler in an adult's body who is going to spit their dummy on the ground when you put up a boundary, and jump up and down and have a temper tantrum.
Yeah, they're children. You're raising children with another children. I mean, if you take an 8 or 9 year old child, take a boy, 8 or 9 year old boy, let's put a suit on him, put a briefcase in his hand. Here's your car, here's your driver's license, keys, here's your wife, your children, your career. And really, it's just you got a child. You're trying to raise children with a child, and I can't imagine how stressful that would be to them. Also, yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. They have the emotional maturity of a child. This is what you're trying to deal with. And what are children? Very young children are ego driven. It's about them. And that's actually normal for children. It's normal for, me, but they grow out of that. A narcissist never does.
No, that's right. This is a developmental problem. They didn't finish developing, so they're still children. Yeah, they're little, children, like you said, are egotistical. Children are entitled. Children don't thank their parents for dinner. Children don't, they have to be forced to apologize. They have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or and you're trying to raise children with them, and that's something we need to realize is we made a mistake. This isn't going to be easy for 18 years.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. So you need to develop those strategies around how you're going to manage the interactions. But certainly getting it out of your head that you can co-parent with this person, I think, is a very important step. You have to dwell on it.
Yeah, wisdom really comes with knowing the difference of what I can and can't do, what's working and not working, what's crossing my boundaries, crossing my lines, what's stressing me out, and what's good for the children. So I think really the best communication with someone that has abused you is through emails, with lawyers, agreements on paper, stuff like this. I think it's just
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Dave, we might leave it there. What a fantastic topic. I think, so many people ask me about it, and I'm so glad that we opened up a discussion around it and the lines of communication, because there is a lot of similarities. So there can be confusion there, but there also are very distinct differences between the two disorders.
Very. A lot of people think they're the same, and so common. People think that people have both, and it's not that common.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of overlap.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just want to say that Yeah, it's fantastic having you here, David, as always. So thank you for staying up to the early hours of the morning to co-host the show. And yeah, everyone, please do yourself a favour and subscribe to David's YouTube channel, which is called Demar's Coaching. David puts out videos every week, and I'm sure David will put the link up in the comments. So yeah, do yourself a favour. And David joins. The live streams are on every single Tuesday night. You've got me every week, and you've got David joins me to co-host the show every second week, live from Las Vegas. Okay, David, thank you once again, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me every week. Thank you all for tuning in and supporting us. Please support Nova if you can. What we're doing is not easy, and we're doing it for free, and we're doing it to help people. If you think this stuff helps you, it might help somebody else. Try to support us. Okay, voting and commenting and subscribing and sharing with other people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, even if it's in a support group that you guys might be in, sharing. This is how we get this information out there, which may help someone else. So please, if you have the capacity to share it, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, David. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Great. Thank you all. Good night.
See you, David. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, everyone, I just wanted to say thank you from myself and David for joining us here tonight. Abuse live stream Q&A. Please join me here next Tuesday night for the next live stream. And yeah, once again, if you are after that extra support, I am a professional counsellor, and I Skype people all over the world to counsel them in their narcissistic abuse recovery. Even if you haven't been able to break that trauma bond and you're having trouble leaving, please just inbox me, and I would love to be able to support you in your recovery. Thank you, as always, to David Demars for joining us here, and thank you to you for the amazing support that you give to me and David in being part of this live stream. I'll see you next week, next Tuesday night, and as always, everyone, remember your worth and then add tax. Bye, everyone.